So we have this really pain in the rear end function that I'm trying to make here. Now we found out that the weapon array dot insert, okay, it requires an integer and then a game object. Okay, well, we go into here and we put an integer, weapon, oh, weapon index 2. Then we put a game object. Okay, I'm cool with that, which is weapon fun. Okay, which is fine. Then we go into this and we close it. It acts dumb and retarded and really irritating because it still gives us this dumb error. So, what? Oh, okay. Now it doesn't. Awesome. Ridiculous. But anyway, now this function should work. We have no way of testing it. Okay. Now obviously this is just to insert it into an array of what you want. Which this could work. I'm pretty sure this will work just fine. Like, as I explained before. Now, I don't know why this wouldn't take it earlier in the other video. It's really stupid that it didn't. Because I've had it every which way. And this is just a game object. Now, this will not spawn the object. That is on another method that you're going to have to use. This is just the function that you can call to add the object to what you want. So, in your code for your game, you could go into this weapon script right here. And then, I really don't want to do something sloppy in here. Well, let's just give an example of it, okay? Instead of doing this, we'd go void spawn gun, okay? And it takes no parameters, just what gun you want to spawn, okay? Maybe we put a game object. Nah, we're not going to put any parameters. That's just dumb. We go into our, let's just go into here because I'm lazy. I don't want to make code that I've already written a couple times. Okay, now let's just go in the test script again. You'd call spawn weapon. Okay, spawn weapon, blah, blah, blah. And you want to cache it, so we'll do game object, capital 1. And we call it my gun. Just for instance. Instantiate my gun. Or the go object. Or weapon. You know, whatever you want to spawn. And we'll just put it at this transform.position, this blah blah blah, whatever position you want, okay? And we'll cast it as a game object, just to be redundant on certain things, okay? Now, because you've got this cached this way, you can go my game object, or call, no, it would be add me, because this is the function that we want. We want it to go into the list, okay? So you're going to spawn this, okay? And you're going to go, bam. Okay, now our function calls for a game object first, okay? So what is our game object? It would be my gun at this point. I mean, that's pretty simple. And what index do we want this to go into? Well, we want this to go into the first gun, which would be 0. And bam, there you go. That's how you'd spawn your gun. No big deal, right? I mean, seriously. It's not that difficult to write. It would actually be very simple to write. Game object and go spawn to list. We'll just say, if I can spell, SPAW on to list. Okay, now we would put this right here. That way, whatever we call the function with, like we did here, we can go into this, I don't know, like somewhere on here or whatever. It's not that thing. We go spawn gun, and it takes a game object. So whatever game object you put here, and then bam. Okay, so this is where we call this function to spawn the weapon that we want. Or we could do a resource.load instantiate thing. But this would be our spawning script of whatever we want to spawn, which we could just instantiate it or whatnot. Well, after we spawn it, we call to add it to the list. And this would add it to the list at the exact location of the first gun. And it will only do it from the first gun. It will destroy the first gun at the index of 0, because we call it at that specific point. Okay. And we insert it into that exact location, the spawned weapon. And that's how you could spawn your guns in. And I mean, it would not be that hard, I guess you could say, but I don't see any other way that, and this variable right here could be anything from a game object that you want right now, or your muzzle flash, or your gun, but it has to be a prefab unless you use resource dot load, and then use a string, which I've talked about resource dot loading, and you have to have it inside your resource folder. Anything in here you could spawn, but the thing is you have to set it here. Now, I don't know how you'd want to set it. That's clearly up to you. But these functions right here would serve you well on specifically inserting into an index of a spawned weapon. I mean, you could add this all into one function, but it could get sloppy. So I find it teeny tiny things do better, because this will spawn whatever I want really, really well. It does one specific job. Okay. And this transform.position.thing, this is just the transform position that you want. And it's only going to do it to this transform. Wherever this is located, that's exactly where it's going to spawn in. Now, you might want to do something parenting or vice versa. I don't know. It's just geared toward a general thing. But that's how I would spawn my weapons in. Possibly. Or the other one that I done on resource loading at runtime, I think the video was called. Something of that sort. And then this function would add it to whatever you want it to be at. Like, you can only carry one rifle. That would be a good way, because you can insert it into the slot 3 the whole time. Okay, it's no big deal. But that's all I wanted to share with you guys, and take care. Like, hit subscribe, and I hope this helps you out in some way. Bye-bye.